what kind of dark beings are we talking about? He's like, devils, demons, shaitan, Satan. This stuff still goes on here? Right? I'm shocked. This is all new to me. Seriously? Another brother I mentioned this to, a Syrian brother, he takes me around Mecca one day and he shows me a house and there's carvings of reptilians into the concrete in the wall, and he tells me, yeah, there are many people here who still know the ancient knowledge of Babylon and still practice the ancient craft. You mean since the time before the Prophet Muhammad? Since the time before? Since the time before they came back and taught them again about the oneness of Allah, the Supreme Creator, they believe in some of the same things in secret? He goes, yes, and they're communicating with dark beings, and they have symbols of dragons and other symbols in their thing. Even on their wall, you can see it. All this stuff is still going on. Oh, brothers and sisters, what is going on in Babylon, and what has been going on? What is it that your secret societies in the West are not telling you about? You know, it's coming to the end of the semester. I've been there for a whole semester, and I'm starting to think, what is it that I don't really know? What is it about truly understanding? What is the struggle about? What is the fight about? What is the war about? What are we really doing? This is all insane. And I'm thinking, I'm only a few hours from Pakistan. And I have a scholarship to start at the beginning of the next semester, and admission to go there. Maybe I'll fly from Saudi Arabia and just go check out the university, and in the summer session go up and, maybe check out the tribal areas and see what's going on, I've never been to Afghanistan. I've never been to the northern areas. Maybe I'll go check them out. My name is Salim Siddiqui, and you're watching HotConflict.com. Brothers and sisters in the West, you're always wondering, who are those crazy people who go to Saudi Arabia and then learn the strange knowledge? Well, we just went over a section of that. And then you're wondering, who are the crazier people who go to the frontier lands in Pakistan or Afghanistan? There I am. I'm in Islamabad. I've gone on a plane from Jeddah to Karachi, and then from Karachi to Islamabad, and I'm now in one of the Islamic propagation organizations where they gather people to preach the Islamic teachings, what you in the West would call a madrasa, what we would call a masjid, where they also teach kids how to read the Holy Quran, right? The book of the Muslims, as all of you know. And we're going to get in more detail as we get later on down the story on what exactly the Quran is. Oh, my brothers and sisters, this is not the story where we let them go at all. Not at all, brothers and sisters. Oh, brethren, you are going to hear the truth. Oh, brethren of the Lodge of Blue, this is your disclosure, and you have been promised it, and it was guaranteed to you, and it shall be delivered by the name of Allah and on the Sunnah and the authority of the final messenger Muhammad. So there I am in Islamabad. And what you find is the strangest thing. I'm with a bunch of kids. Just like me. Disgruntled kids who are unhappy with their life, who kind of grow up to little privilege, who either ran away from home, or totally poor, underprivileged kids or orphan kids who are left in the madrasa system to learn the Quran because nobody else wants to take care of them, or they're being taken care of because they were abused or neglected. And the local charities and organizations that teach the Quran take care of these kids and teach them the faith and teach them the religion and look after them. You also find kids who are disgruntled, who ran away from home, or kids who are looking to get involved in some kind of political motivation. They're troubled with the world, just like I was. There I am in Pakistan, right? Hanging out with the exact type of people that you're worried about here in America. And so I'm with a guy who's probably 18, 19. I'm what, 20, 21 maybe? He's from a rich family. His father wanted him to, go to traditional school, medicine, doctor, lawyer, engineer, whatever, just like my dad, And I'm there. I checked out the University of Islamabad. I looked at it, looked at the campus, looked around, and then I'm at the relief agency, right? And I'm checking out the Mujahideen and who are the relief agencies in Islamabad that know about the actual forward training camps in the northern Peshawar area, or those who know where the training camps are on the front lines of Afghanistan, and what's going on in Kashmir, and what's going on in Afghanistan. And I want an update, and I want to see what's really going on, because I'm trying to find out the truth. So there I am, and I'm with the brothers, and I'm out that night, and I meet with the leader of the group there in the little markaz, the little organization. And I tell him who I am, and I tell him who, my sheikh is from back home, who's the imam of my masjid, and how I got the contact, and that, our masjid told people about this masjid, and they said that you guys do dawah work for the kids, and, the basic stuff, and there's nothing really covert about any of this. Everything's above board, and you got to understand, in the early 90s, there's no active war going on with Pakistan. There's not even an active war going on with Afghanistan, and that was a period where Pakistan and America were in an ally period, right? Where Pakistan was, again, the #1 ally of the United States in the war on terror in that period. Between the point where it gets dropped as the worst date and then it gets picked up again, Pakistan has a love-hate relationship with the United States, and that's a whole other political issue. And like we said, we try to stay away from the politics, right? So there I am in the field office in the city, right? Not in the training camp, but in the actual mosque with the school and where the kids are hanging out. And so meet with all the brothers there, and he pairs me up with a brother who's, similar to me at age, from a wealthy family, and we go out on the town, basically. I tell him, I'm here, I'm going to travel up north, and I want to buy some things for my family, do some shopping. I can stay here for a few days, get to know the brothers, and then try and, if you guys could help me out and put me in contact with who are the good brothers in Peshawar and how to go north, and who are the contacts. I'm looking for people who really believe in La ilaha illallah Muhammad Rasulullah. So they're a little bit nervous about me because I'm this funky white boy who looks totally strange and out of place, and who are you, what are you about, and, that type of scenario. I go out with this brother that night, buy some shopping, hang out. He's telling me about the typical things. We're hanging out in the Marriott Hotel restaurant. Beautiful, lush, decked out. Eating the fancy dinner at the nicest places and stuff. And he's telling me about his family and, troubles he had with his dad, disagreements. And then he ran away from home and he ended up in the markaz, hanging out there and helping out with the younger brothers and just basically becoming a volunteer. And you see the exact same story of people who are disgruntled and get into communication problems with their family. And everywhere I go, I kept finding people who were trying to get away from their current situation, whether it was brothers training for jihad to run away and go to the front line, or people trying to get away from relationships, or people getting away from disagreements with family. And I thought to myself the whole time, I don't always get along with my father, but we don't disagree. He's a believer, I'm a believer. He's actually a pretty good dad. I'm actually a pretty bad son, and I'm causing him a lot of heartache. I should really be more respectful to my dad, He's actually a pretty good father, and all these people have such problems back home, and back home they're having problems back home. And so being in that environment, whether you're in Saudi Arabia or whether you're in Pakistan, it's the same story. And I'm seeing all these kids who are disgruntled everywhere, and I'm wondering what is going on in the world, and why is it that there's this constant turmoil and struggle and this problem and problems same everywhere, economics and then financial, and leading to social issues and problems with marriage and divorce and family issues and teens and their parents and rebellion and the status quo and wanting to buck the system and concepts of revolution and talking about a grand calamity. And I'm not sure what's really going on, but I'm just kind of there for a few days, and I go on to Peshawar, right? I go on to Peshawar, right on the frontier, the border of where Pakistan starts to merge with Afghanistan. That's Peshawar for you in the FBI. And I'm there for maybe just a brief day because I time it so that I can catch the bus, because the brothers tell me there's a bus that goes from Peshawar up to the camp areas in the different tribal regions, right? So I go from Islamabad to Peshawar, and there I go through another level of kind of security interrogation with the people there. Who are you? Where do you come from? And da-da-da. And what do you do? And how does this work? And, you know, where do you really come from? Let's see your passport. Get your name. Write you down on a list. Log you in a record book. A record book of someone coming into one of the camps or coming into one of the organizations is what we call a qaida, a record book. What you call in the West al-qaida is a list or the record book of everybody who went to a camp run by the Arab Mujahideen in Afghanistan. So anybody during that period that slightly had any Mujahideen tendencies from the early 80s, they tried to somehow keep a tally of them during the early period by writing their name and their nationality or a little bit of information about them in a ledger or a brief or a listing or a list. That is called a qaida, a book, a daftar, a qaida, a leaflet, a blue book, right? A blue book is called a qaida. And so the organization that gets then known in the West are those names that those Arab Mujahideen from the early 80s, who now were thought to be advanced in now the 90s and then forward as the West. Well, this is the early 90s that I'm talking about when I'm there. So by the late 90s, this concept of those who were on that early list, those that were on the early ledgers, are known as Al-Qaeda. Now, as we all know, from the late 90s now until the late 2000s, the term Al-Qaeda warps into anybody on any list who happened to be affiliated with anybody on any other list, and the term became kind of useless. But the actual original term, for all you in the analyst community that follow this video series, comes from that. And so it's important for those in the West to understand how this happens. I go into a markaz system, right? Not one organized by the Arabs. You see, because I kind of am aware at this time, even going there, especially from the West, that the Arabs are using Pakistan and Afghanistan as a base of operations to run terrorism. But the local Pakistanis and the local Afghanis are local based. They have no concern whatsoever about what's going on outside of their borders. And so anything that they're doing is local self-defense. And therefore, by definition, applicable to jihad. Why? Because they are the local authority in their local community calling for their own self-defense. They are libertarians calling for their own liberty against any opposing government, even their own. And obviously sometimes the Mujahideen have squabbles with their Pakistani government. Sometimes the Pakistani government, as we said, ebbs and flows on this issue, depending on their own government and as they develop and evolve as a society themselves, right? We're talking about this not from being on any side of the issue, but actually relating what's going on in the map. We're not picking sides. We are of the light. We wish to settle differences and resolve them.